Please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi there, good afternoon. This is Your Stocks. I'm Mangla Malu. With me is Sumera Abdi. Sumera, looks like the Bulls are in a hurry to go home with some green, relax, and then perhaps watch the quarterfinals that are taking place today.
That's true, actually, and I wouldn't blame them. I'd be in a hurry to get home as well. A lot of exciting action lined up in the evening, but for now, let's tell you what's making news this afternoon.
It's the ladies special on Your Stocks, where we answer the queries coming in from all our female viewers, investors and traders. So joining us today to answer all your queries, we have G. Chokalingam as well as Sandeep Wagle. They're with us, and thanks a lot, gentlemen, for joining in this Friday afternoon to answer the queries coming in from all our female viewers. The first one, we have it already, an SMS from S. Chandra from Mumbai, holds 275 shares of Yes Bank since a week. A medium-term investor wants to know whether to hold or sell, but since she's bought it a week ago, let's go to Sandeep. Sandeep, the last week has been good for Yes Bank. In fact, today too, it's up about 1% after moving yesterday. She's sitting on some money. Her horizon is medium-term. Do you think she should take the profits in the short term or perhaps hold it for the long term?
Of 330. Now she is talking of a medium term.
All right, I think we'll try to fix that link again with Sandeep. Meanwhile, Mr. Chokalingam, your view on, all right, we'll try reconnecting with them. In the meanwhile, just keep an eye out on individual stocks as we speak, Sumera. You know, HCL Tech, that had been underperforming in the IT space, but now it's moving higher. Just watch out for that stock, up about 1.5%. But the oil marketing companies, they've been flaring up as we speak. At the high point of the day, we have Hindustan Petroleum as well as IOC. Along with that, BPCL2 has moved off the low point of the day. Infosys, another stock which is currently in the red. Yesterday was a big underperformer, but has recovered a little from the low point of the day.
All right, well, there's a lot of stocks to talk about, but Mangalam, you actually traveled and you met with the management of TTK Prestige, right? How was that?
Absolutely. That was pretty good, Sumera, primarily because Mr. T.T. Jagannathan, he's 70 years old. More than just the business, it was the life advice that he gave as well as the experience that he was sharing, which was pretty good. But right now, we'll talk about the business, the individual brands, his plans, as far as the individual brands are concerned, as a slice of this conversation. Let's talk about individual brands then. How big is Judge right now? Where do you see it, say, 5 years from now?
Judge is very small right now. It's about 5 crores a year.
Okay.
Where is it going to? 5 crores in 2,000 crores. So it's really, really small. Where do I see it going in future? Very slow. We don't want to cannibalize the Prestige brand. And people are under the wrong impression that the rural markets want cheaper brands. They don't. Rural markets want the best brands and they're prepared to pay for it. The Judge brand is actually for urban markets to compete with the unorganized sector.
Oh, so in that case, you have a product offering to compete with the unorganized sector at the lower end. You have Prestige, which is mid to higher end. Premium, what are you doing out there?
We're looking at that too. We're looking at some Harvard brands that will bring in the premium end.
And they haven't come to India yet, right?
Not yet. Not yet. A lot of work has to be done.
And Harvard does about 10 crores per quarter in revenue. Where do you see that going forward?
Where do I see Harvard revenue? In the UK, markets grow about 2% a year.
Okay.
If Harvard is very good, they'll grow 2.5% a year. So that's about the rate at which they will grow.
But Harvard brands coming into India,
that could be big. That could be big.
And when is that likely to be?
I think before end of this financial year.
Before end of this financial year. And in terms of your cleaning solutions business, you said it should contribute about 5% to the revenues. Apart from Hero, what are the products that you are?
Oh, we're in everything. We're the only complete cleaning solutions company in the country. We're in mops, we're in buckets, we're in air purifiers, we're in water purifiers, we're in vacuum cleaners, floor polishers, we're in everything.
So, but then there's so much more competition there as well, right? In cookers and cookware, you have limited competition. The minute you go into home appliances space, the range of competition increases.
I must correct you there. The largest competition in cooker, there are 600 brands.
Oh.
Yes. Absolutely the largest competition.
So if you guys can manage your leadership in the cooker brand,
that's right. Also, there's nobody in the cleaning solutions business. There are people in vacuum cleaner, there are people in water purifier, there are people in air purifier. They're all separate. There's nobody who approaches cleaning as one segment.
Ujjwala, what is the opportunity with that, and how have you seen that grow so far?
Major opportunity. You see, you don't need a pressure cooker if you don't have gas.
Right.
Because if you have coal or wood, you neither save money, and the time saved in the village is of no consequence. So till gas reaches, a pressure cooker doesn't go, and that's the first appliance that goes. With the Ujjwala scheme, we found major increase in rural markets. Wherever the Ujjwala scheme has been implemented effectively, we've seen demand for pressure cookers growing.
But your revenue then, growth was muted because of the GST demonetization disruptions as well. 19% is what you did in the last year.
Yes.
Going forward, 20-25%, is that on the cards?
I think low 20s.
Low 20s.
And that will be very, very good if it happens.
In appliances, which is the appliance that is gaining maximum salience right now?
Mixies and gas stoves.
And they will continue to lead the
Yes,
growth going
yes.
forward.
Also, most of our innovations are in those areas.
40 years in the business, you're close to 70 now. You've completed
passed 70.
You've passed 70. How do you look back at your life?
I took every day as it came. There was no master plan that I was going to become. I mean, if somebody had asked me 40 years ago, would you be sitting and talking to a TV channel, billionaire and what have you, I would have said no chance. So everything is you take it as it comes. What will I be doing, what I have done, it's all, I don't like to use the word fate, but it's chance.
Any regrets?
No, actually no. In fact, I must tell you, I have a bucket list.
Which is?
Which is empty.
That's the best bucket list to have.
Yes.
All right, so that's an interesting conversation, but let's get back to answering the queries then. Onam Panwar is our next caller who joins in now from Karnataka. Hi Onam, how can we help you? What do you want to talk about?
Hi, so actually I have a query. I bought 200 shares of Granule India and I bought them at 134.
Okay.
So I want to know what is the future of it. So shall I hold it for 5 years or more, or should I sell it or average it out?
Okay,
What do you
and
suggest?
you do have a portfolio of stocks, right? And this being one amongst them.
Yeah, right.
Okay, Mr. Chokalingam, let me come to you on this. Granules India not really done anything, through the year. For somebody who's making money, surely there'd be better ideas, right?
Yeah, definitely, but she is losing heavy. So if she doesn't have heart to book losses, she can hold on to it, because after the massive fall, now it is trading at around 12-13 PE. The problem is that it is facing a lot of price realization pressure in the US, and also balance sheet shows a lot of intangible assets. Perhaps, people have some doubts in their mind. That's why the kind of PE valuation given to this company is much lower than what is given to other companies in the mid-cap pharma space.
All right. Sandeep, all the pharmaceutical stocks are doing well this month so far. The pharmaceutical index, as well as this first half of this year, the pharmaceutical index has done fairly well. But Granules is one stock which has actually gone the other way. So what do the charts suggest on Granules? Do you think a recovery is in the offing, or she should bite the bullet?
I think that even if there is some kind of a bounce back, I would term it as a bounce back rather than a recovery. I don't think it will be sustained. So maybe at higher levels in the range of 100, 105, I would recommend an exit. And in case that doesn't come, she has to keep a stop loss on the downside, and that stop loss would be somewhere around 70.
All right, place a stop loss at 70. That's the view coming in from Sandeep and Mr. Chokalingam as well. With that, we move on to the next one. Miss Malini K, writing to us from Bengaluru, holds 60 shares of Bhushan Steel at 65 rupees. Since the last 6 months, a long-term investor wants to know whether to hold or sell. We've been talking about this for a long time, Mr. Chokalingam, that there perhaps could not be a case for any valuation for equity holders of all these IBC companies, and now we have a viewer who's lost almost half her capital. What would you recommend? Perhaps protect the other half, or there is recovery in the offing?
No, it is going to be a very, very long-run period for the company to recover, because the kind of dilution in the equity happened post Tata Steel coming in, and also the gap in the debt as well as the valuation given by Tata Steel is quite huge, which means the earnings are going to be very marginal on a highly expanded equity base. So to recover her cost itself could take even beyond 2-3 years. So if she wants to wait for 3-4 years, she can wait to recover her cost, or if whenever there is any tactical upswing of 5-10%, she can exit and shift to some other safer stock.
Nifty PSU Bank Index is buzzing, and look at some of the individual names out there. So PNB, of course, the big one. It's up about 2-3 odd %, but that's seen a climb higher actually. So that's the high point of the day. Syndicate Bank, Canara, Allahabad Bank, Bank of India, OBC, Union, IDBI. I mean, you name it, pretty much everything looks to be getting a bit of an edge and heading now to the highs of trade. But let's get back to answering the many queries that are coming in. Zarna S has written to us from Mumbai. She holds 50 shares of Coal India at 391 rupees for the last 3 years. She's a long-term investor and wants to know what she should do. Mr. Chokalingam, we spoke with the management of Coal India just a short while back. They're quite upbeat, actually, that things are going to, look up as well. On the other side, there's news that, states have been allowed to import coal as and if required to meet demand. What's the future prospect now for Coal India and for somebody who's been invested now for about 3 years?
Yeah, certainly. If somebody has bought at a higher price, definitely they should consider adding more at this price because I expect the mid-cap space to be under pressure till December. So this would be one of the safest large-cap stocks. And secondly, on its own merit also, it deserves accumulation. As you rightly said, a lot of things are happening in its favor. In the first quarter of the current fiscal, they have reported a 15% jump in the output. Even that dispatch is in a double digit on year-on-year basis. And still it is sitting on a cash which is around 48 rupee per share. And since the central government is under tremendous pressure on non-tax revenues, there is a possibility of one more special dividend. Also, we have seen the report of China cutting down coal output, and even Coal India setting up the joint venture with NTPC to improve the utilization of coal, and also improvement on the rail racks. All these are positive developments. So it's appealing buy for defensive investors. It may not be a wealth creating stock, but certainly it can give easily 10, 15 to 20% upside in the short to medium term.
All right, not a wealth creating stock, but short term can give you about 15 to 20% returns. That's as far as Coal India is concerned. Let's move on to the next one. Sheila Jadhav, writing to us from Jaipur, holds 1250 shares of Indiabulls Real Estate at 200 rupees for the last 3 years. Long-term investor wants to know whether to hold or sell. Currently, the stock trading at around 152 rupees. Sandeep, what would your call on Indiabulls Real Estate be? She's losing a bit of money.
Well, not very positive, Mangalam. I would recommend a sell on a bounce in the range of 160, 165, and on the downside, I would advise a stop loss of 135, because if that is broken down, it may even go down to 110 or so. So any move towards 160, 165, sell out.
All right, for the moment, let's just shift focus a tad away from stocks. Our correspondent Tim C. Jaipuria caught up with Mahendra Singh and John Joseph of the Central Bureau of Indirect Taxes and Customs to talk about the increasing complaints regarding anti-profiteering and tax evasion and what the government was doing to step on it.
The number of complaints which we have received regarding profiteering number is not very large. There are few cases which have come to our notice, and DG Safeguards, who is now DG Anti-Profiteering, they are investigating those complaints, and once the investigation is complete, they send a report to the Anti-Profiteering Authority, and they'll take necessary action on that. But I can say this move is more of a deterrent nature, and the number of complaints is not very large.
So how much tax evasion has been detected?
Tax evasion almost, I have already told also, almost 2,000 crores worth of tax evasion has been detected, and in the last 2-3 days itself we got more than 100 to 150 crores of evasion, and that's a huge thing, and this will continue also. We will be taking a very strong action against the tax evaders so that the genuine manufacturers or the suppliers should not suffer.
So what about, which is the industry where you are seeing maximum cases of tax evasion?
that we cannot say it like that, because every type of industry is having this sort of a problem, because people are trying to use simple supply of invoices rather than supply of goods. That is prone to almost all the type of industries basically.
So what about slabs? When we talk of rate rationalization and slabs, what is the way forward that CBIC has started?
You know, as you're aware, there are 5 rates now, 5 slabs, 28%, 18%, 12%, 5% and 0. And as the compliance improves, the revenue position improves, the government will think of rationalizing the rates. Maybe the slabs may come down to say 4 or even 3, but not more than that.
So what is the agenda of the next GST Council meeting?
Agenda has not yet been finalized. That will come after some time.
There are a lot of talks about a lot of law changes, a lot of changes in the rules, etc. What are these changes which are yet to come?
No, I explained in my address also. Law Review Committee has been constituted by the GST Council, and Law Review Committee after deliberation has given its report, and that report has also been considered and deliberated upon by the Law Committee, and the recommendations will go to the GST Council, and once the GST Council decides, then the amendment in the law will be put up before the Parliament.
It is hovering at the 10,800 mark. A couple of stocks they're moving. Our ticker team also tells us Mahindra and Mahindra, that one's moved to the high point of the day. Most of that coming in the last 5 minutes. The mid-cap index though, that one's at the high point of the day itself. 150 points seen there. IFCI, that's the stock which is surging, and now that has moved to the high point of the day with a gain of almost 7%. So IFCI from the mid-cap space buzzing around, and we have a couple of these financials doing well too. Let's move on. We have Supriya Kumar writing to us from Bihar, holds 210 shares of Tata Motors at 370 rupees for the last 4 months. Long-term investor wants to know whether to hold or sell. Mr. Chokalingam, Tata Motors, what would your view be? Usually, you know, we see 260, 250, the level from which Tata Motors usually recovers. But the growth in luxury car markets, as we saw yesterday as well, that some reports came by, have been weak. At these levels, Tata Motors, do you think it's fairly valued, or maybe it can go lower?
It's a fairly valued, difficult to visualize that it can be beaten down significantly from current level further. However, on upside also, it may not create a big money in the next 2 to 3 years. Minimum one has to wait for 2 years. There could be 10%, 15% upside in the short term, but beyond that, quite difficult because you know, the Brexit, all of us know the kind of statements came yesterday, and apart from that, company has to invest heavily for shifting from diesel to petrol in the UK market, and then we don't know at this point in time the impact of US trade war on export out of UK or from Europe to rest of the world. So all these uncertainties are there. So therefore, considering the lot of losses, I would suggest hold and hope for, you know, to recover the money in next 2 years time frame.
All right, Sandeep, technically, how is Tata Motors looking to you?
Sumera, in the short term it is weak, but since she has a long term view, I would recommend a hold and maybe an averaging at the current levels with a stop loss of 230, and in the next 12 to 15 months I am looking at a price of maybe 340, 350. But if you have a next 2 to 3 months, I don't see any strength in Tata Motors.
All right, that makes sense. Up next, we have a query coming through on IOC. Hazel Jennifer has written to us from Karnataka. She has 50 shares of IOC at 300 rupees for the last 7 months. She's a long-term investor and wants to know what to do. At the outset, I think our maximum viewership is in Karnataka.
Yeah.
That's where we seem to be getting all the queries from. But Hazel, a long-term investor, making a bit of a loss on IOC actually. She's bought just about 7 months ago. Sandeep, you see higher levels here, perhaps 200 plus?
I don't see that. I would recommend a sell on a bounce back in the range of 165, 170. I'm talking of the next 2 to 3 months or so. Unless she takes a 2-year view, maybe over that time that is likely. But other than that, I would say sell out and look for some other opportunity. On the downside, if the stock were to break 145, it can even go down to 120 also.
All right, sell out. That's the word coming in on IOC. Thanks a lot, gentlemen, Mr. Chokalingam as well as Sandeep, for joining us and giving our viewers all your expert opinions. With that, we will wrap up on your stocks, but do remember to log on to CNBC TV18.com. Keep mailing us your queries. We will address them with our experts. Stay tuned. Closing bell comes up next.